Today, Precarious plays
Hades.
I know we just said we're just looking forward to the next weird thing that they make. Like, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter because it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But when we were talking about, like, the incentivizing the split in Transistor between the turn-based and the action combat, I was just thinking about how frustrating it is trying to deal with the AI in, what is it called? Final Fantasy VII, the new one? Is there a subtitle?
Remake.
Right, remake. Final Fantasy VII Remake. And many other titles. There's nothing like having a title where you have like a whole party and then like 3 of the party guests are like, alright, I'm gonna go poop in the shower. And you're like, no, that's my house!
Oh, man.
You know? So, you know, like that happens on so many levels in so many games. But I was thinking about that, and I was thinking that they could change how the split works and use the split to man whatever party members, like set up the moves for whatever party members you don't have direct control over. Mm-hmm. And then, like, you could switch between party members for the action portion. So you're like, you set up the choreography, and then you pick one of them, and then you dance while everybody else does what you told them to. You know, that unfolds in real time, right? It's like, shoot, which Final Fantasy was it? It's a different Final Fantasy. The one with the paradigm shifts?
13.
Yeah, 13. So that was a cool way to handle that. And you could just change over people's paradigms, right? But I was thinking that it might be fun to handle it just
You are...
in this other way.
I think you were... I might show it to you after this to figure out if it's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that you're just talking about Final Fantasy 12 without knowing, yeah.
Do you have a party?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have the ability to pick whoever you are acting as in the party?
One at a time, yes.
One at a time. And then while you're acting, does your party continue to do stuff?
With gambits that you set up ahead of time, where
Okay.
it's a sort of hierarchy. Tip of the hat. It's an established hierarchy where the game will try to fulfill conditions that you set up in order. So,
Okay, but
for example, just a quick one.
yeah.
You can set up a condition that's like, if a party member is damaged, if they are under 50% of their HP, you will use Cure on them. Mm-hmm. And then you can make the second thing just, if there's any enemy on the field, you hit them with a basic attack. That's sort of like the most basic thing in the game, really. It's like, all right, if I'm hurt, you heal me. Otherwise, you just attack whatever's around. You just start at 1 and then go down the list.
All right, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Not quite. Although
Alright.
that's another cool way to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Props for that. But the other thing about it is that you would set this up not before the fight, but in stages throughout the fight. So, like, whenever you popped into your turn, you would give people, like, 1 turn's worth of instructions, and then you would pop out as one of them and fight, or do whatever you were going to do.
Oh, well, the others...
While the others enact 1 turn's worth of stuff, and then it pauses everything again.
Is that Knights in the Nightmare? Other games have gotten close to what you're suggesting.
I think
think that there's one where, like, it's you control police officers, and they operate that way. Like, you set everybody up, and then it's like I can't remember how it's described. The developers described it as like a simultaneous turn-based strategy game. And the only difference is in that title, I'm pretty sure, that you don't take direct control of anyone. It's like, I'm going to set up all of the team stuff, all of the stuff for my side, and then they're going to go.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of other ways to merge that turn-based strategery with the type of fun action fightiness that I like. Because I like both of those things, you know? I like playing Bayonetta, and I also like playing Fire Emblem. Mm-hmm. You know? But let's say during Fire Emblem, I could go engage
just got to get through Cerberus up there.
As Lindis and knock some blocks off while my buds did the other things that I told them to do. So, like, and then have that loop back around. Have, like, bite-sized strategy. Because all of these things that you've talked about are sort of like getting presets ready, which can be interesting, but it's not. It is my very least favorite thing. Like, crafting stuff and equipping the characters and making sure everybody has enough juice, and it's like, you know, do you have a vulnerability? Like, this is the not fun part of games for me. Like, you know how in this game you pick things as you go, as they make sense, and then whenever it's time to do another run, you pick them again. I love that because it allows you to make shorter term decisions and be much more experimental with it, you know, because eventually whenever you're setting up paradigms or whatever, what were you calling it in the Final Fantasy 12? Gambits. So whenever you're setting up your gambits, I mean, like, you probably end up with a few gambits that you really like that you set up for certain fights, and then, you know, you just kind of set it and forget it. Whereas if you're adjusting things moment to moment a little bit more frequently,
well, that
could be it keeps you in it a little more.
But that's the thing. It's really easy to sort of nominate one character as like your main character, and you always just control them one action at a time. Mm-hmm. And during boss battles where, like, things get a little hectic, you often wind up stealing control and overriding those gambits. Anyway, you know?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it would, like, maybe the total of what you're describing would end up being what I, like, the feelings that I would want, you know? But, like, I think about it in the context of like whoa, wow, that was fast and painful. I mean, your health is fine. It's good enough. I just, you know what happens to me when I'm watching this game? The health meter is like hidden behind the mic for me, so I have to like tilt out to see where we're at actually. You know, all I see is that you take damage and it looks scary because you're in Heckams and everything is bad here. So yeah, shoot, what was I saying? I don't know. Final Fantasy 12 might deliver on what I wish emotionally without being the solution that I'm talking about, you know?
Do I want to get that? I mean, that's sort of what I was saving up for. It's a shame that it's Titan's blood. Yeah.
But, like, imagine being, like, a badass general on the field, but you have to fight, but you also have to, like, control your troops. You know? But then you get to swap bodies, too.
Okay, but that's a lot.
It is a lot. I'm asking for a lot.
You're asking for a lot. Because I was gonna say, you mean Mountain Blade? I've got a close but no dice solution
To
to
like every one of my suggestions.
Yeah, you just keep moving the goal. Like, I don't even think that you're pushing the goalpost back. I think that what you're doing is you're rotating it like 5 degrees at a time.
I'm like, no, you haven't seen this side of it.
Yeah.
No. Look at this part.
No. Here's the thing.
It's a cylinder. It's a cylinder. Just hang on a minute. I think, one of the things that I'm also thinking about is the Tales of games.
Yeah.
Like, the Tales of games, when we would play together with friends, like, I felt like the spirit of that was pretty similar, because you could kind of give them somewhat instructions if you didn't have people to play with, too.
Yeah.
And you could switch back and forth between characters.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, like, Tales of is probably as close to what I'm talking about as what I've seen. Like, what I've actually played.
Mm-hmm.
But Tales of is a JRPG. It's so long. Oh, I still haven't found...
Ooh, no thank you.
Shoot, like, have I really I think the only JRPG we played on this show, and I think it might have been too short to count.
Chrono Trigger is tidy, but I mean, you've been playing Octopath Traveler.
Yeah, but I'm like, not gonna play all of it, as we've discussed in previous episodes for reasons.
But I also don't recommend that you play all of it, because usually, like, the final thing that keeps somebody involved in a JRPG...
Yeah.
Really is... It's usually not the narrative, because usually the narratives of JRPGs are really simplistic, regardless of what people will try to tell you to justify their involvement, like their affection for a story,
Yeah.
or for a title. The stories are usually pretty simplistic. Most people are actually sticking around to see what happens to the characters, because they like the people in the story, which I think is fine, Yeah.
Like,
I'm trying to think of a JRPG that I think does have like a really great overarching narrative, and it's not just about the people. I think Suikoden 2 comes to mind. I don't think that one ends with, and then do you use the power of friendship to kill God?
Yeah. Well, I want a narrative-heavy action title with strategy components. That's what I want. Really. And I don't want a freaking 80-hour game. Oh my god.
Say it again.
I want a narrative-heavy action game with strategy elements.
I don't even think that I want... And also, it can't... Narrative-heavy action game
Something I can
with
use.
strategy component... Oh! Yakuza.
Yeah. Only
got
not
there, we made
Yakuza,
it.
because I don't really care about that story. Can we have it be about saving the planet or something?
No!
Not like
No, you
not like
can't.
Earth, but I mean, like, have it be about, I don't know, like my time in Greenpeace or whatever.
Narrative-heavy...
It isn't a story about like gangsters. Ew.
Narrative-heavy action game with strategy components.
What's the strategy component in Yakuza?
Oh, there's some. I was mainly being silly. But I mean, there are some, there's some management stuff,
Okay.
mainly. There's this whole real estate thing in Yakuza 0. That's what I'm playing now.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have action components, but I feel like
Okay,
like Suikoden 2.
here's a hypothetical.
Suikoden.
A Steven Universe game,
Yeah.
but when you're running around the map after a certain level, you get to action fight instead of turn-based.
I don't think that games where battles happen are actually conducted. I don't think that they are conducive to Steven Universe as a property.
Okay, but that was just an example of the type of story that I want.
Well, what type of story is that?
I don't know.
What are stories?
Oh boy, that's too big a question. Let's ask Moth Radio Hour. What are stories?
Get out of here, nerd.
You can do a whole season on
Dang
what
it.
are stories. But no, I just like. You know what
Cool.
would be an excellent canvas for the type of unhinged nonsense I'm trying to put words to?
What?
Cloud Atlas. Cloud Atlas the game, which would explain why sometimes you're fighting strategy and sometimes you are like hand to hand and sometimes it's a sneaking game.
No, I've got to put a stop to what you're saying right now because you are describing the middling, unfocused, big budget AAA crap that I decry.
I think what I really need is to just go play Final Fantasy 12 and see if I like it. I think that might really be. That's the closest thing to what I want that you've described so far.
Because what you're asking for, there are so many competing elements that can't.
Don't spend it all in one place.
At first I didn't know how
Oh.
to get through to that odd riverboatman Charon. Turns out he lusts for coin, and now I understand him well.
Oh. Haha, that's the exact one I wanted. Woohoo! Oh, let me give this just a couple of seconds of really clear thought because we're headed towards possibly the end of the whole game for us here on this channel. What you are asking for is irresponsible. And I hate to be such a party pooper about it, but now that my mind is clear, all of the disparate needs, it sounds like you're asking for like a smarter, more nuanced version of Dynasty Warriors?
I might be. I don't know. I've never played that one.
You played a little Hyrule Warriors, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
That's Dynasty War. It's by the same developer.
Oh,
They
okay.
just, didn't want to call it Dynasty Warriors Hyrule Edition. Something like that. But, and I don't like that. I think Mountain Blade, I would describe it as a more satisfying version of that because Dynasty Warriors is an inexplicably popular franchise. I think that people like the sensation of feeling powerful and running around and batting enemies around. But for me, it's just numbing. It's just the lack of nuance. I mean, even if it was a situation where like you assembled.
But I got bored with Dynasty Warriors too, so that's not what I want.
You know what would make Dynasty Warriors interesting for me? If you assembled like a team of say like 3 warriors.
Yeah.
And you swapped in and out right in the middle of a battle, just on the spot. Like, they would just sort of like jump in from out of frame with like a little bit of a whoosh or something. You just have them be there for the purpose of the mechanics. And everybody would be really narrowly focused. So it would be about like that team composition. And then maybe you get thrown a curveball and it's like, I did not bring scissors to fight this paper. Even something as simple as that, But instead, they have these huge casts of characters and they all wind up feeling kind of homogenous because they all just have to have like giant AoE attacks. And even like the spectacle starts to wear thin. Like, I don't think that I've ever liked a Dynasty Warriors style title as much as I did when I was playing Hyrule Warriors and I was using Link's ball and chain, like his flail weapon. And he has an attack where he it kind of makes you wonder, like, what is being revolved in this
yeah.
attack. He slams the flail, the head of the flail, into the ground, and then flips the planet around him.
Okay.
I'll have to show it to you later so you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But once I realized that, I was like, okay, I understand. I now can accept other people's appreciation for this franchise, because before that moment, like, I had friends in middle school who liked Dynasty Warriors, and I was like, why are you guys wasting your time with this? I've got a copy of Devil May Cry 3. Let's just play that instead. Let me just show you Devil May Cry 3. And to their credit, they were more understanding of why I preferred Devil May Cry 3 to Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah.
And they were more accepting of that. They were like, yeah, I get it. And then I was just like, then why do you want to keep playing Dynasty Warriors?
You were like, I don't get you. We're going this way, but why though?
Yeah. So here, you know what? Let's take a break and let me see your phone for a minute.
Okay, all right. I want to see Link spin the planet.